For those who are unfamiliar, this is a TV show called Flashpoint. This is Gene Bailey. He's a televangelist, megachurch pastor, and host of this TV show on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Network. They are pro-Trump nutter butters, if I have ever seen them before. Well, they have some things to say about the Chinese balloon that flew over the United States recently. Among other things, they love propagandizing for Donald Trump. That's like their whole thing. That's why they exist in the first place, is to propagandize for him. So let's give it a listen, see what they have to say for themselves. And while we listen to this, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VII. I'm in the Temple of the Ancients currently, so.
All right, so, there are times during the week that I wish I could walk into the studio and come into you live every night. We're not at that place yet, but listen, I know. I was already texting producer Jason and Michael, we need to do this, calling General Flynn, who's going to join us here in just a moment. But in case you were sleeping under a rock and you didn't know what happened.
Okay, General Flynn is not a general anymore. He was removed from the military and he was charged with a crime of passing classified information to the Russian government, to Vladimir Putin himself. He was sentenced for that crime and then pardoned by Donald Trump, who benefited from that crime. So he's not a general. He's just Michael Flynn. But okay, he was a general. He was just about as high up as it gets in the U.S. military or in government. And it's disgusting that he'd do something like that.
The balloon wars happened. We were invaded by a balloon. Watch.
An urgent search is underway off the South Carolina coast. Navy and Coast Guard vessels on the scene, hunting for what's left of the Chinese spy balloon shot down by an American fighter jet.
If you're unfamiliar with this situation, with the balloon war stuff or whatever, if you're watching this 5 years in the future or something, there was a balloon spotted flying over top of Montana recently. Montana is home to our Minuteman missile silos. The balloon had like high quality camera equipment on it, apparently. And it wasn't just a balloon. It was a massive, it was way, way high up there, like 60,000 feet in the air. This is higher than pretty much any commercial jet or honestly any jet at all can reach. I think we can design crafts that can go that high, but it was not easy to get up there. So the U.S. government basically said they blocked it, they jammed the transmissions or whatever, so they're not getting anything from it, and they were going to let it sail over the United States. It went over the Atlantic Ocean in South Carolina, and the U.S. government shot it down and recovered the equipment that was on it, basically. And China just lost their mind and said, this is an overreaction, and we will respond with force and, all this stuff. China's final warning, famously complete garbage. So anyways, that's what happened, if you were curious. One more thing I want to say about this. They didn't really learn a whole lot that they couldn't learn from just using satellites, which they've been doing for ever anyways. China's been sending satellites over the U.S. for who knows how long. But the balloon doesn't have to pass through the atmosphere. The pictures can be taken close up and easily. So that's probably why they sent a balloon over. And for what it's worth, the U.S. has a similar balloon program. So I don't think it's a terribly big deal, honestly. So anyway, all right, let's keep listening.
In rough conditions today, Navy divers searching in shallow water, an area spanning 7 miles. The FBI is expected to take custody of any elements recovered. We now know it was a single Sidewinder missile fired from an F-22 that hit the balloon. Its giant surveillance bay, the size of 3 buses, detaching, then plummeting into the ocean at least 60,000 feet below. This image showing the fighter jet. It eventually reached an altitude of about 58,000 feet as it...
Which is really impressive because, oh my God, jets aren't supposed to go higher than 30 or 40,000 feet. It's really hard to get a jet even that high. I think most commercial jets fly at 25,000 feet, don't they? This thing is at 60,000 feet. This thing is almost in space. It's crazy that they managed to get a jet up that high. Truly impressive that they got a jet. I mean, the U.S. That the U.S. got a jet that high, and that they hit the balloon with a missile in the first place. Oh my God, dude! Airliners can fly up to and including 41,000 feet. Well, there you go. This thing was 60,000 feet in the air. This jet was 58,000 feet, I think they said, right?
It tracked the balloon and fired. A U.S. senior official saying they had been monitoring the balloon for a week, and they took immediate steps to prevent its collection of intelligence. The balloon making its way across the continental U.S., crossing out to sea over the Carolinas. China claiming the balloon was a civilian aircraft, condemning the U.S. action and saying the country retains the right to respond. And
yeah, so if it is actually a civilian aircraft or a weather balloon, they are actually perfectly within their rights to fly the balloon wherever they please, pretty much, or just about. And if the U.S. takes it out, it could be considered an act of war. Now, if the balloon is actually like Chinese government or military in origin, it's not an act of war. It's defending our airspace. That's kind of what the Chinese government is like leaning on, is the hope that people will believe that it was a civilian balloon. It's garbage, obviously. It seems obvious to me that China was sending their balloons over to spy on stuff. Of course, like every country does that, don't they? Spy? Literally every single country. They're just leaning into this to have some level of plausible deniability, seems to me. Well, there are some military jets that get up to 100,000 feet. Wow, okay, I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive. Holy shit. Yeah, I know that there are some jets that get really high up there, like the first spacecraft, I guess you could call it. The first thing to reach space was basically an airplane. It looked like an airplane at the very least. And I think it was flown by Neil Armstrong, and it went into the stratosphere and it came back down. So pretty impressive. I saw that at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum when I went to the Reason Rally in D.C. back in 2016 or 17, I think. I don't remember. So anyway, yeah. I mean, it's possible for these jets to get that high. It's just not common that we build them to do this. It's really, really rare. All right, let's keep listening.
The right to respond. And for the...
All right, okay, so there was a lot of good comments in there in that little report there. They took immediate steps. However, it had crossed the entirety of the mainland of the United States until it made its way into South Carolina.
That's true. Now, remember, this TV show is all about loving Trump, doing anything that they can to, build him up and put a puff in his petticoat and make him seem special. They are Trumpists to the core, die-hard Trump lovers. So how much you want to bet they're going to blame something on Biden and accuse him of something and then say this wouldn't have happened under Trump? Even though it did. 3 balloons flew over the U.S., 3 Chinese balloons during Trump's administration.
Let me bring in General Flynn because, General Flynn, welcome back to the program. I wanted to get your take on this, sir.
He's not a general. He's a traitor to the U.S. government, first of all. Second, he is very pro-Russia and very anti-China from what I can remember. We'll see what he has to say, but I'd be willing to bet he's going to be super hawkish on this and say China being over top of our airspace is an act of war. I will bet anything that's what he's going to say.
You know, most Americans are sitting at home listening to this with their mouths open and say, how in the world could we let something go across the entire United States and then decide to shoot it down when it finally crosses over into the Atlantic Ocean?
Well, the reason he did that was to protect the people below. Like, what if it was carrying something that it shouldn't have been carrying, like some kind of a weapon or a nuke or something? Like, who knows? Are you kidding me? Are you really sitting here saying you would rather Biden shoot it down over land? Of course he doesn't want that. Nobody would have wanted that. This is the intelligent, reasonable decision to make. And now this guy is blaming Biden for making a reasonable decision. You can bet that Gene Bailey, Michael Flynn, and others would be screaming like banshees if Biden shot the thing down over top of, like, the U.S. or over top of land. Oh, it could have hurt somebody. You know they would have been saying this.
Are we missing something?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, there was a lot of Americans over the past week that made a big joke out of this. Actually, there was so many memes flying around on the internet, but this is not a joke. It is a very serious breach.
Like I said, there are like a ton of balloon programs in the U.S. or, all over the world. There are a ton of balloon programs for all different countries. They all have a balloon program. So it's not really that surprising to me that China had this balloon program going on. Kind of embarrassing how they claimed that it was like a weather balloon. It was a civilian aircraft or whatever else. But this really isn't that big of a deal, honestly. It was a big deal because the U.S. people saw it.
Of our sovereignty. Just some of the things that this balloon probably was collecting was signals intelligence, meaning they're listening and monitoring different things. They're mapping of distinct bases, and they flew.
Do you think the U.S. doesn't use encrypted communications, really?
Over the top of and very close to, in proximity to many of our most secure bases, right? So they're mapping those bases, and they're doing all sorts of other intelligence collection activities while they're flying over the United States.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely, they probably were. That is why the U.S. shot it down and took it. At the very least, the U.S. was blocking their ability to gather intelligence. They specifically said they are not allowing this balloon to collect intelligence or anything like that.
And you can see you're showing the track now. Yeah. I mean, so this was a breach of our sovereignty, and
I agree. It was.
And I think it's an embarrassment, actually. I mean, I feel terrible for our military, because the military makes decisions based on our political leaders in our country, and that's rightly so, and it should be that way. And so, one of the commanders, NORAD, the command that takes care of all of our basically protects the sovereignty of the United States of America. When I heard him talk this week, it sounded like he was confused over what we call rules of engagement, and that he didn't feel like he had the right measures to be able to respond to this essentially this overflight of our country by.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't. The president does. And you know what? They actually woke Biden up in the middle of the night to tell him about this and ask him what should be done. I mean, they said this publicly. This is not like a big surprise. Of course he doesn't have the right to blow something out of the sky like that without clearance from the highest levels of government. Didn't he just say it should be like this? Didn't Flynn just say that? It should be where they listen to superiors or whatever.
By China in this case, and they knew exactly what this was. They knew exactly the dimensions of it and exactly what it was doing, but there was confusion. And so,
What confusion's he talking about? What was confusing about this? There's nothing confusing about this. You get clearance from Biden to make a decision. Biden made the decision after receiving advice from his generals and stuff. Flynn would have been one of those people if he didn't commit treason against the U.S. government previously. And then they executed the plan. What's he talking about?
I joked earlier this week with another friend about how we track Santa Claus, going around the country on Christmas Eve, and
yeah, NORAD is like the thing that in the U.S. that tracks things like entering U.S. airspace or whatever. And NORAD has a website apparently you can go to and track Santa. Like NORAD allows you to track where Santa is or whatever. It's kind of funny, actually.
And yet we had problems, figuring out exactly what to do with this thing. So all in all, I feel terrible for our military because our military has.
We didn't have trouble tracking this. What's he talking about? Had trouble tracking it? What? We knew exactly where it was, when it entered, and the whole 9 yards. I have no idea what he's going on about right now.
The full capability to respond to something like this, and there was no threat of debris landing. When you're talking about knowing exactly where this thing could end up landing and where they could have shot it down.
Yeah, maybe they didn't know what was in the balloon. You ever knock that one around the old noggin? He's just looking for a reason to hate Biden.
Before it even entered U.S. airspace, or certainly when it first entered U.S. airspace up in the north and northwest. But I think all in all, it shows a capability that we might lack. That's the other potential that the
What capability is he talking about?
Chinese were looking for. And those are just some of the things that they test. It's probing. You're probing. You probe your enemy's lines until you.
That's true. And like I said earlier, Donald Trump actually, when he was president, China sent 3 different balloons over the U.S., over U.S. airspace when Trump was president. From my understanding, Trump didn't know about them at the time, found out about them later, but he was definitely briefed on it, apparently. That's why he didn't shoot him down. It's not like he wasn't, he didn't want to shoot him down or something. He may have shot them down. I don't know if he had known about it at the time. But this is definitely a problem that China has been perpetrating for, ever.
You find their greatest weaknesses. And if the Chinese learned anything, they learned a few of our potential weaknesses between our military decision makers and our political leaders. And frankly, let's just pray that we don't have the significant weaknesses that I think that they observed this week, and maybe we have been able to fix those weaknesses.
Okay, the United States is not weak at all. The U.S. is one of the strongest military. I think it's the strongest military in the world, and we spend more than the next 5 countries combined or something like that. How many is it? I don't remember now. Been a while since I looked this statistic up. It probably changes from time to time. It used to be more than the next 17 countries combined. The U.S. is not weak at all, and this literal traitor to the United States government giving classified information to our adversaries, claiming that the U.S. is weak, is just disgusting to me, honestly.
Here in the last 24 to 48 hours. If not, then we're in a much more serious trouble in our military than I can even imagine.
That's so true. Let me bring you in, Lance. Lance, this thing was first came into the public spotlight by.
For what it's worth, like I said, Flynn is a traitor to the U.S. government. Knock this one around. This is kind of interesting. Did you know that Michael Flynn's brother is the U.S. general responsible for everything over top of, I think, the Atlantic Ocean or something, or the Pacific? I don't remember. Charles A. Flynn is his name. He is a U.S. general who serves as commanding general of U.S. Army Pacific since June 4th, 2021. Previously served as Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, Plans, and Training of the Army Staff from June 2019 to May 2021. He is the younger brother of Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's first national security advisor. And if you're curious, this is a picture of him right here. He kind of looks like Michael Flynn, right? Younger brother of Michael Flynn. Wow, very decorated. I wonder if they get along. I wonder how disgusted he is with his brother's treasonous actions. Flynn's whole family has disowned him. Is that true? Honestly, I would be tempted to cut the entire Flynn family out of the military if I were the president. I don't believe that I could trust any of them ever again after what Flynn did. Anyways, yeah, let's keep listening to these people. This is Lance Wallnaw, by the by. He's another televangelist type of person, total nutbag. Let's keep listening.
Lance, this thing was first came into the public spotlight by a civilian who saw it there. No.
That's not true. NBC News reported on it. That may have been reported to NBC News by a civilian. I don't know. But the U.S. government knew about it long before the the news reported on it. Long before any civilians saw it. They were tracking it all the way out of China. So, yeah, I just, I reject his analysis here.
In Montana, I believe I have my facts right, and then it kind of exploded into the news and went viral, so to speak. Let me show you these charts from the Trafalgar Group of a poll. Spy balloon action.
From the what? I've never heard of the Trafalgar. The Trafalgar Group. I've never heard of this before. I'm always super skeptical and wary about using any of their sources. I don't trust any of their sources whatsoever. So be very skeptical of anything you learn from this. Don't believe it without looking it up yourself directly. So the question is, do you believe President Biden should have taken quicker action to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon before it even entered U.S. airspace? I don't know the situation. I was not involved in the intelligence. It's possible that they believed that, there was some kind of a biological agent. It's possible, they needed it to enter airspace before it could be legally shot down, or it could be an act of war. I don't know. I'm not one of the people at the top who makes these decisions. I have no place to ask this. And they don't either. They have no idea either. But okay, let's listen to the rest of what they have to say here.
Do you believe President Biden should have taken quicker action to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon before it even entered the U.S. sovereign airspace?
They can't shoot it down before it enters sovereign airspace, or that is truly an act of war.
A whopping 58.8% believe yes, absolutely. No, 31, not sure, 9.8. I don't understand how that number should be so much higher. But anyway, let me show you perception of the U.S. How do you believe the handling of the Chinese spy balloon has impacted perceptions of America on the world stage? Now, that's what you need to understand. This goes to what General Flynn was alluding to. It made America look weak, 59.2%.
The spy balloon made America look weak? What? Where are they getting this? No, it didn't. They shot it down. What are you talking about? It made America look weak. No, it did not. What is their obsession with making America look weak, really? Why are these people so obsessive about America looking weak? It's almost like they all seem to have, treasonous leanings, same as Michael Flynn, right? That's what it seems like almost. It is so weird. It's like they're rooting for the country to fail miserably. They want it to fail because a Democrat is in charge. Just bizarre.
And I think regardless of what, Lance, regardless of whatever intel they were able to get and send back, that's one thing. But what General Flynn...
They didn't get any intel and send it back, from my understanding.
Was speaking to the amount of time it took us to react. We took immediate action after it crossed over into the Atlantic. This is a bit bizarre. What do you, from your perspective, Lance, on the world stage, what does this do for America?
It does nothing. It shows that China is aggressive and violates people's airspace regularly. They violated Canada's airspace also. And I don't think Canada was too happy about that.
Well, look, Senator Ted Cruz says something really interesting, Gene.
No. I don't know what he's about to refer to, but no, he didn't. I guarantee it.
He said the only reason the government even acknowledged there was a spy balloon there was because the citizen media brought it to everyone's attention.
The reason they declassified information about it is because it was discovered by somebody else. Okay, sure. Doesn't mean they wouldn't have shot it down anyways.
Not meaning that they didn't know it was there, meaning that it's very likely the Biden administration would have let the balloon go all the way through and keep it a secret and file a private protest.
He has no idea what they would have done. He's guessing, and he's guessing on the least charitable end, too. Notice that? Every time he takes a guess about something that he thinks the Biden administration might have done at some point. It's always the least charitable possible option. Why? Why does he hate Biden so fucking much? I just don't get it. Dude's Catholic. He's religious. Loves Jesus just like you. What's your problem with the guy?
Through Blinken that this is highly inappropriate and irregular, and that China would write back, "Oh, it's just a weather balloon got off course." They'd all be playing this stupid game of mutual courtesy. And the only reason we know about it is when the citizens grab hold of it. So there's a key. The citizens have to blow the whistle on the incompetence and irresponsibility of government. Secondly, there's a second spy balloon everybody acknowledged over South America.
Over Latin America, they said, yes.
So they're not being blown off course by accident. They're being driven. They're literally.
That is correct, yes.
Programmed to go on a specific flight path to get information. And they're basically in a spiritual world, if you want to make it the big
balloons in a spiritual world. Okay, go on.
Proto-spiritual angle. China is flexing its spirit muscles and saying to the world, we go where we want and do what.
What? They're flexing their spiritual what the fuck are you talking about right now? You're making zero sense, Lance. Pull it together and give me a better interpretation. Why don't you just start over and try it again?
What we want. We are now the prevailing global ascendant power, and America is on decline, and they will embarrass us in front of the world stage. And you know what? Let's go take a lesson from that. China sent COVID.
China did not send COVID. China was trying to prevent it from getting out. They locked their people down harder than anybody. It's honestly just disgusting that he propagandizes this way. Seriously. What's wrong with him?
In a sense, the ballots. China killed our economy.
I'm sorry. Let me step back and listen one more time because I feel like we missed something important. Keep listening here.
America is on decline, and they will embarrass us in front of the world stage. And you know what? Let's go take a lesson from that. China sent COVID. China released, in a sense, the ballots. China
released the ballots. What the hell does that mean? You know, you may not remember this because depending on how long it's been since this happened, like maybe you're watching this 5 years in the future or something, but there was an audit, quote unquote, like a ballot audit by this organization called Cyber Ninjas. They were true blue Trump supporters, Trump believers. I mean, diehard Trumpists, right? And it was a private company that decided to audit the Arizona ballots. Like they went through them and wanted to count them all themselves and make sure the count was right. As it turns out, Biden actually got more ballots after their count. So I guess the count was correct after all, first of all. But second, when they went through all of the ballots, you know what they did? I am dead serious. They checked them for bamboo fibers. They checked them for bamboo fibers because they believed that China printed a bunch of ballots off and mailed them in. That's not how it works. It's literally not possible to do that, first of all. You have to have a name and address and signature on it of an actual voter for the ballot to count. And China does not have access to that stuff. And even if they did, we would immediately see that these people were voting twice and we would investigate. Simple as that. But no, these people wanted to check and see what was going on with the Arizona ballots and apparently checked them for bamboo fibers. It's just ridiculous on every level, man. Ridiculous on every level. They don't live in the same world as us. They're convinced China interfered with the election and that Russia's hands are completely clean, when in reality, Russia did interfere with the election. They can't accept this. This blows my mind.
It killed our economy and took Trump out of office as a result of COVID. And I think we should be taking the threat of China far more seriously, and we should probably be repenting for where we are, because evidently God is sending a message to America that without him we are vulnerable.
Well, absolutely without him. Well, let's see what some of D.C. groupies have to say. Pete Buttigieg, I know this is Tony Suarez's favorite guy. Let's hear what he had to say.
The military gauged the different risks and the different benefits of different approaches.
Okay, Pete Buttigieg is not, he's just a Secretary of Transportation or something, right? He's not like a military, does he even have clearance? Like, maybe he does have top secret clearance or something. I don't know. But he's not the person that you'd want to hear from or talk to about this. He's just giving his opinion on this, seemingly. Okay, let's hear what he says.
Made the decisions that they did, brought this thing down without incident.
Right, but the presumption has got to be that the Chinese were able to gather intelligence hovering over the United States for day after day, especially over some of these sensitive sites.
Good question. The United States said that they prevented the Chinese government from gathering any intelligence. That could be because they covered things up. They brought, vehicles inside, or it could be that they jammed the signals. That's pretty common. They are capable of doing that, jamming signals. Or maybe China wasn't sending signals back at all. They were waiting for the balloon to come back to China before checking it. Like, who knows? Who knows? There are a billion possibilities. But it's reasonable to believe that the United States would not allow this balloon to go over sensitive sites and gather really sensitive data without taking precautions. That's completely reasonable.
I'm sure there's a similar presumption about what spy satellites do. That is
Yeah, exactly. Spy satellites are all over the place.
well outside of my lane. I'm just glad that nobody was hurt as this thing.
We weren't talking about spy satellites there, General Flynn.
No, but the point is they can do just as much as balloons do.
This is well outside my lane. It is outside his lane, so is...
Right. Why is he listening to Pete Buttigieg? They're the ones that played the clip from him. Why are they playing the clip in the first place if it's outside of his lane?
Common thought and logic and reason. But what do you say, sir, when it comes to something like this? Are you sensing that the troops are leaving the Biden train?
Yeah, I mean, there's all other indicators of what is happening within the Biden administration right now. But to have that particular young man speak to any type of defense issue or defense response or military intelligence type capability, that just shows you, it tells you everything you need to know about this administration and the absolute and utter nonsense and weakness that we portray globally. With people like Buttigieg, who's in charge of, in this case, our Department of Transportation.
Dude, I don't even know what he's talking about right now, but okay.
I mean, one of the things that I want people to understand is that these type of capabilities, and Lance said it, this thing is steerable and was steered on a course and driven by somebody sitting in mainland China. They weren't sitting in Montana driving it. They were sitting in mainland China. So it's
right. I was wondering, is this thing manned? I don't think it was manned. I think that this was like remote. It seems to me it was probably remote.
a significant capability. Now, in terms of, do we have similar capabilities? You bet we do. Did we use, balloons like that or dirigibles or whatever you
Oh, absolutely. Yes. The U.S. has a balloon program too, of course.
want to call it elsewhere around the world? You're darn right. Now, do we do this? And you say to yourself, so, are the Chinese innovative enough to create that? I want to tell your audience.
Dude, are you kidding me? Are the Chinese innovative enough to create a remote piloted balloon? Are you serious? That is one of the most disgusting, racist things that I think I've ever heard before. That's bad. Well, I don't know if it's... I've heard some pretty bad stuff, so maybe that's not the most racist, but that's bad. Are the Chinese intelligent enough to make something like a balloon that can be piloted from mainland China, or are they just too fucking stupid to do something like that? Are you serious? What kind of a question is that? What is wrong with this guy? What is wrong with him that this question would even cross his lips or his mind?
The American people, that many of the capabilities that the Chinese have, they stole from us. And we are probably paying, in some cases, indirectly or directly through taxpayer dollars for those capabilities.
Wow, dude. China is too fucking stupid to make something like this on their own. They stole this idea from us. Just to think such a thing is seriously disgusting. That just shows how deep his white supremacy goes, honestly.
To do exactly what the Chinese just did to us and to parts of South America. Folks, they're mapping this country. They are breaking it down to levels of detail that.
Hey, no need, actually. As it turns out, Google Maps did that for us like a long time ago. So China doesn't even need to bother. They can just get on Google Maps and look if they really wanted to map the country.
That only a military person can understand, that's done detailed military planning, and they're collecting intelligence and collecting information.
Dude, I thought they were too stupid to do something like this. I thought they stole all their good ideas from America. Why is he so afraid of them doing this stuff if they're that stupid, right?
On all sorts of aspects, they're not focused on on what Flashpoint is doing on a given show. They're looking at what military communications or what government communications are happening over the areas that they were covering.
No. First of all, it's all encrypted. Second, they can pick up on that stuff with or without a balloon. They have satellites and stuff like that in the area. They don't need a balloon for that.
I mean, this is a very good capability. It's a very innovative system to use, and they did it without they did it really without losing really all that much. To lose one of those things is nothing. It's peanuts to the.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's probably $400 million worth of equipment and stuff. I think I heard, or was it? Yeah, I think it was $400 million is what it costs to put those balloons in the air, somewhere in there.
Chinese military.
Look that up before believing that. I could be wrong on that.
To the Chinese government.
Yeah. Let me show you folks at home, because we played this earlier. I'm going to play that B-roll again. The path this thing took, because I don't think this has been shown quite enough. Now look at this.
I'm glad you have that, Gene.
Yeah, look at this. Okay, so it goes around. This is not normal wind patterns. This is not the way.
Right, that's obvious. It was not the wind, like China claimed. They just made that claim because if they do, they might have a claim to enter. It could be an act of war, basically. Is China going to go to war with the U.S.? I deeply doubt it right now, anyways. But they do have a claim to it if they want it, is the point here. If they can convince the world that it was a civilian aircraft. Of course, they can't. Everybody knows it was a military aircraft, but okay.
One more side note I wanted to mention. In the image they're showing here, the path looks windy because this is on a Mercator projection of the Earth. You're taking something that's spherical and flattening it out. It doesn't logically seem like it would look windy like this, but that might actually be a straight line. That's also why Greenland looks like it's bigger than the US, when really it's only slightly bigger than Alaska. This is another perfect example of propaganda and how your perception is manipulated to suit their interests.
The weather flows. Oh, look, it happens to just cross over Alaska. You couldn't get a better angle onto Alaska. Mm-hmm. Then there's Montana as it hits the mainland. Now look in here, as it goes through there, Omaha, Strategic Air Command, Missouri, over North Carolina, South Carolina, and out to the ocean. What does this say to you, General Flynn? I'm going to shift gears here a little bit.
It obviously says that China was trying to, gather intelligence on our Minuteman missile silo locations, of course.
What does this say to you about the State of the Union, as Joe Biden's going to talk about tonight?
Oh, yeah, that was last night, actually. The State of the Union, if you're unfamiliar, it's a speech that happens once a year. I think President gives a speech and kind of talks about his accomplishments and failures and goals in the future and things like that. Last night's was pretty good, although Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert screamed out right in the middle of it. Again, they did that last time too. liar, and they yelled, what was it they yelled? I forget. They yelled a bunch of shit. Let's see. China spied on us, closed the border, liar, and like people were just yelling stuff out randomly at the State of the Union. They're just the height of class, right? Aren't they like the classiest people you've ever seen in your life? They really know how to sit in a room of really important people and behave themselves, don't they?
Yeah, the president's going to, and it'd be interesting to hear what he's got to say. And I spoke a little bit earlier about this. I'm very interested in national security issues, obviously, from my background.
Yeah, your background of giving classified information to adversarial countries. Totally. I bet you are interested in national security issues.
But I'm not so concerned as much as everybody else is about, Europe and what is going to happen with Taiwan or North Korea or Israel attacking Iran lately. I'm actually very concerned about what is happening right here at home. And I do believe that we're in a sort of a state of World War III now, but the domestic national security issues that we are faced with in terms of the invasion of our border physically, the chemical attack that is going on right now with the application of fentanyl on our streets and the damage that it's doing to our entire culture and our entire society.
Okay, did he just say that? Let me just step back a few seconds, listen to that one more time, real quick. Hang on.
But the domestic national security issues that we are faced with in terms of the invasion of our border physically, the chemical attack that is going on right now with the application of fentanyl.
Okay, so is he saying he believes that some foreign country is intentionally shipping fentanyl into the U.S. to, like, create an epidemic or whatever? This guy really does live in a fantasy land, doesn't he? It's just insane on every level.
On our streets and the damage that it's doing to our entire culture and our entire society. And then this biological war that has been occurring because of the
biological war. Okay.
Biological weapon called the COVID vaccines.
Oh my God, dude. He can't possibly believe this, right? I don't think that he believes this. There's no way in hell that he actually believes this.
And I don't say that tongue in cheek. I say that with great intention and great purpose, because those are components of things that we know now that, for the vaccinations, and God help those that took it for whatever reason they took it. This was a gain of function capability, which means it is weaponized. And that,
oh my God, he has no idea what he's talking about, or he does know what he's talking about, and he's just completely full of it. One or the other, I suppose. He's just intentionally lying to twist things around and get people whipped into a blood frenzy. That's a possibility.
And it comes out of China. So those components are elements of a World War III. And as Lance did, and you guys talk so wonderfully about, the spiritual aspect of all of this. I mean, I could throw in the satanic abortion rituals that were.
Oh, please, dude, come on. This is a troll now, right? This has to be a troll. Hold on, let me write this down. This is getting crazy, dude. Sadly, I think this guy is actually serious, unfortunately.
We're now seeing in New Mexico and Texas. I mean, there's so many things that are happening.
Wow, he got specific with that one. In New Mexico and Texas. Okay.
What I don't want the American people to be, and especially I'm going to watch this whole thing. I don't want the American people to be distracted by things that aren't important to America. Bingo. I want the American people to be tuned into what is happening to us in our lives. And I don't want people to worry about things that they cannot control, because those things that they cannot control, trust me, somebody else is in control and God is in control. But take control of what you can, meaning in your community, with your families, in your churches. That's where people can take charge of their very lives and don't worry or complain about all these problems that we're having elsewhere. So pay very close attention and make sure that we have the right people. We have to make sure that we stay, We need to be, as Americans, dedicated to our election systems and processes, not just show up when we feel like showing up. I mean, there's so many distractions in our lives today, and I want people to reflect again, back in on what is true and pure in this country. And what is true and pure in this country are the freedoms that we have, the ability to practice our faith the way we want to practice it, and our ability to raise our children the way we want to raise our children. That's
What the hell does that mean? Our ability to raise our children the way we want to? Is somebody stopping you from raising your kids the way you want to raise your kids?
what's true, and that's what's pure, and that's what people need to worry about more than anything else. Those of us that have these platforms like me that can fight and challenge the national and international system, let us do that. We're going to do that.
Yeah, amen. Good word there, General Flynn. Before I let you go,
Just everything about that was psychotic and unhinged from reality. This is nuts. Yours truly, number one pony. Ever get a text saying you have a purchase you didn't make, but when you check your bank account, there's no status on any purchase or loss of money? Yes, that is called a phishing attack, and they're hoping you're going to click it, and when you click it, it's going to redirect you to Apple's website or Google or Gmail or Amazon or whatever. And it's actually going to be a website set up by somebody else. It's going to look a lot like the real website. And when you type your information in to log in, it's going to send it to them, like the hackers, rather than Amazon. And then it'll redirect you to Amazon or Google or wherever else. And you type it in a second time, thinking nothing of it, just like, oh, I guess it didn't work the first time, try again. That's how phishing attacks work, and that's actually how Anthony Podesta, or John Podesta, got his email stolen by Russia through a phishing attack. Although it was spear phishing in his case, they set out to get him specifically. If you fell victim to that, change your passwords right now, immediately, on everything. I don't know if that's what you're dealing with or not, but yeah, I've been getting emails from PayPal for like weeks now that, somebody's trying to log into my account. I have to click this link to sign in and change my password. So, anyways, or some other thing like that. Just annoying BS. Cyber attacks have stepped up dramatically in recent years, so be very careful. Nerico, good morning. The Nutter Butters are losing their minds over the Grammys, mainly Sam Smith's performance. Here's to your feline overlord, Tail Bass. Thanks so much. I didn't hear about Sam Smith's performance. I did hear, however, that Dave Chappelle received a Grammy for his transphobic, comedy special that he did, which is particularly disgusting in my opinion, because in the comedy special, he did some trans jokes that were really fucking funny. Some of Dave Chappelle's jokes were hilarious, even about the trans community. I fucking love those jokes. But the problem, in my opinion, came when Dave Chappelle looked at the camera and said, "I'm not joking anymore. This is not a joke. I do not like trans people." If you're just going to lay it on the line like that for me, I'm sorry. How can anybody defend it as not being transphobic when he said, "I am transphobic. I do not like trans people. I am a TERF." Those are his words. I am a TERF. In all seriousness, jokes aside, I'm a TERF. Okay, we're not joking anymore. You hate trans people. That's what you said. The jokes were fantastic. I loved them. It's when you got serious that I had a problem. They're just jokes, man. They're just jokes. I loved the jokes. They weren't even hurtful jokes that he told about the trans community by and large.
I know you've got a new book out. Tell us about it, what it is.
Yeah, it's called Citizen.
It's called I'm a Scumbag, right? Oh, it's called Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, 5GW. Oh, my God. He's got this thing about 5G and how it's going to activate graphene oxide and blah, blah, blah. You know how these conspiracy theories do.
Thank you, Gene. It's called Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. And you can find it on my website, generalflynn.com. It's also being sold at Barnes & Noble. It's a huge bestseller. I really appreciate the support the American people have come to really enjoy this book. We designed it purposely like a military field manual and in layman's terms, to be able to guide people to understand what it is that we're facing and how you can overcome this. And there is a huge spiritual component to this book. I want everybody to, I'm a big believer in Psalm 23. Yea, that I walk through the valley of the shadow of darkness, or I will fear no evil because thou art with me. But when you come out of that valley, which I have been able to do, thank God, only because of God, I've come out of that valley. I've found a light that is not a train coming at me, but the sort of the trueness of light. And now I learned Isaiah 6:8, which is, whom shall I send? Send me, right? Here I am, Lord. And I want
My God, Jehovah's Witnesses made a song about that. Here I am, send me, send me. Ugh, God. Now I'm thinking about old Jehovah's Witness music. By the by, there is a spoiler alert in Final Fantasy VII at this point. If you haven't seen this, then, well, the game is like 30-something years old, so 1997, and this is 2023, so 26 years old, I think. Wait, is it? Yeah, it's 26 years old. Spoiler alert, Eris dies. Anyways, all right, let's keep listening to Flynn.
Everybody to reflect on America is in that Psalm 23 and living that, but I want every single citizen, every single one of your Flashpoint Army members, your Flashpoint Army soldiers to reflect on Isaiah 6:8 and say to yourself.
So he's saying that he wrote a field manual for military use, basically, and he wants listeners of this show to view themselves as an army and use his manual as a guide, basically. Right? That's disturbing stuff, dude.
Do I live Isaiah 6:8? Am I saying to somebody, am I saying to the Lord, here I am, send me? How are you being sent? How are you sending yourself into this battle that we are waging for the very heart and soul of this country? So thank you very much for helping me talk a little bit about the book.
Yes, sir. Thank you, General Flynn, for coming by and your analysis. Keep us abreast of what's happening. Thank you.
Again, this guy is a traitor to the United States government. He gave classified information to an adversarial country during a very sensitive time, during a war. Russia went to war with Ukraine. The United States sanctioned Russia for that, and he gave classified information to Russia to assist them in the war that they were fighting. Absolutely disgusting stuff, dude. Disgusting stuff. He has no right to have the word general in front of his name. He was charged and sentenced for it and then pardoned by Donald Trump. Disgusting, man.
God bless, guys. Peace.
God bless. All right. Let me go to you, Tony Suarez. You heard Lieutenant.
Okay, did a retired general just say peace? That's kind of funny, right? Let me just step back a little bit. Listen to that again.
As to what's happening. Thank you.
God bless, guys. Peace.
God bless.
He did. He said peace. He threw up a fucking peace sign. What is wrong with this guy? Seriously, this is disgusting. This guy is absolutely grotesque that he would do the things that he did. It's just wrong. Straight up wrong.
Yes. All right. Let me go to you, Tony Suarez. You heard Lieutenant General Flynn break it all down there. What does this say? Let's pull things back a little bit on the spiritual side of America, because if we're not careful, and one thing that he alluded to was the paralysis of analysis, that we can get so locked into this that we don't do what we can do right where we're at in our own world. But there's the spiritual component about that we really need to pay close attention to. Tony, I'll let you speak to that.
Who is this guy? Tony Suarez? Never heard of this dude before. Okay, let's listen.
Paralysis of analysis, that we can get so locked into this that we don't do what we can do right where we're at in our own world. But there's the spiritual component about that we really need to pay close attention to. Tony, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I have a friend and a mentor. He's a prophet. His name's Morton Bustard. He called me 3 weeks ago before there was balloons and all of this. And he said, Tony, we have to pray against war with China.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, a general in the military recently said to his troops, I think in the Air Force, he said to his troops, he sent around a memo that was leaked, prepare for war with China by 2025. And the reason is because there's a Taiwan election around that time,
and there's a U.S. election. So there's going to be chaos in Taiwan as a result of that, and the U.S. will be distracted with their own mess, basically. That was the problem. Now, again, this isn't something he said publicly, intentionally. This is a leaked memo, and that makes it that much more concerning, in my opinion. I really hope China doesn't try to go after Taiwan. That would be concerning.
He called just an unction on him. He just felt like there was a threat coming. And, to see what we've seen in the news the last week, I mean, I called him. I said, man, you were seeing seeing things in the spirit 3 weeks ago, and there's others that have been raising their voice. God brought to my heart this just in the last 2 days, the story of Gideon. Gideon was defeated in his spirit, in his mindset.
Wait, isn't this the guy who claimed that the sun stood still for 3 days while he fought a war or something like that?
I mean, God himself visits
There's some wicked drugs make you believe that stuff, right?
him. He's not visited by a priest or a prophet, but by the angel of the Lord himself. Yet he needs sign after sign after sign. He's unsure if victory is truly coming. And right before that final victory over the Midianites, the Lord says to Gideon, I want you to go down to the enemy's camp, and I want you to hear what they're saying.
I always use this story as an example of just how fucking disgusting and evil God was in the Old Testament. You could ask the Midianites what they thought of the Israeli God, but unfortunately they're all gone. So, yeah, no more Midianites to ask.
So we know all the chatter in the media and even amongst ourselves of our enemy. But have you considered what the enemy is saying about us? And I'm not talking about humans that live in a different continent. I'm talking about the spiritual forces, the rulers in high places that are driving these attacks. Do we have an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying and hear what's really taking place? What did Gideon hear? Gideon put his ear to the ground and heard them talking, and the enemy said, I had a dream. I saw a loaf of bread falling, and it hit this camp, and everything was destroyed. And his companion said, that can only mean one thing. That means that God is about to give Gideon and the Israelites victory. I want to remind you that the word of the Lord is our daily bread. And I believe...
Dude, I don't even know what that story meant. What point was he trying to get at with that? I am so lost.
In my spirit that all this warfare, this attack that's coming, it's because the enemy knows that the word has already been given to us. Victory is not something that we're trying to get to. We already have it. We're operating and functioning in victory. And I want to encourage the Flashpoint Army today. We have victory. We have blessing. And I'm listening in the spirit. And the enemy knows that his time is almost done. And he knows that every prophecy about the last day revival, the end time gathering is about to be fulfilled before our very eyes. So I encourage you.
Great. So the end is here. Fantastic. So this is all the proof I would need. Just let's see it. I just need proof that all this is real. And then I'm a believer, just like that, instantly. That's all you got to give me. Isn't it weird that no proof has been forthcoming? Like none?
You get ready, not for a fight. Get ready for victory in Jesus' name.
Amen. Boy, that's good, Tony. Pastor Hank, before we go to the break, I want to get you to comment. General Flynn said this. He said, take control of what you can. Where you are now, he may be speaking more in the the natural sense of take control of your school board, which we have to do that. But how do we take control is what Tony Suarez was talking about. How do we take control?
Dude, that's so disturbing. The fact that they have a vested interest in taking over school boards and the world, as they say. They want to take over the world, quote unquote. That's what Gene Bailey said the other day. It's disturbing stuff, man. I mean, listen to this. This is from a previous episode just a couple of weeks ago. He was talking about a live event that they're about to hold. He says this.
but it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it. A lot of stuff happening. You say, well, what kind of training is that? What kind of stuff? These flash talks, I'm calling them flash talks, okay? What you're going to learn from this flash, how to go back to your house, wherever you live, and learn how to flip your school board so that your kids, if they're going to public school, you can start taking over the school board. And you go, well, that sounds like we're trying to take over the world. Yes, we are. I fully admit that. That's exactly what we're doing.
And they seem to be proud of it. I mean, that's the caliber of person that we're dealing with here. The caliber of televangelists that we're dealing with. Disturbing stuff, man. Seriously.
Control over spiritual matters in our area.
Well, first of all, I want to comment because I can feel something across the airwaves and people are gripped with fear.
I bet. He can feel something across the airwaves. Totally.
And so that's one of the first things we do is we need to take authority over fear. First of all, some trust in horses, some trust in chariots. But watch this. We will trust.
I personally trust in your mom. That's just me.
In the name of the Lord our God. Pastor Gene, I have been very much getting a lot of text messages and things coming my way since
tech messages, okay.
This Chinese balloon, because for several months, the Lord kept saying, watch the skies, watch the skies, watch the skies.
Oh, wow. So he makes a super vague supposed prophecy like, watch the skies. And when he finds something that this could possibly fit, like finding a balloon flying over, the U.S. or something, he points it out and says, hey, look at that. I was right all along. Complete garbage. Every single time with this guy. It's complete nonsense.
There's going to be something unusual that's going to happen that men are going to say, what is this? Then
Nobody said, what is this? We all knew exactly what it was. So you got to get specific with these prophecies, right? And his whole bit is to not get specific. That's the grift. That's the scam. Don't get specific with any of this stuff. Be vague enough that it could apply to absolutely anything. This is the same tactic that old televangelists or psychic cold readers used back in the day. Don't get specific enough. Be vague enough that this could apply to anything. And when something comes along that it matches up to, point it out and say, look, I was right all along. Complete nonsense.
January 22nd of this year, the Spirit of God said there would be an explosion, there would be fire and smoke in the air, and they would say in the air, what is this? And then there would be an intensity of the soil would greatly shake, and it would go to a whole nother level, and then a few days later, we see this earthquake in Turkey. And God...
Okay, so these are two different events that he's describing. So he prophesied, supposedly, quote-unquote, prophesied an event that's going to happen. There's going to include a few factors that are super vague factors. And when that didn't happen, when that prophecy fell flat, he decided to take two different events and combine them into one prophecy. Seriously, do people not see past this, honestly? How is it that people are still suckered into believing the things that he has to say? It's crazy.
God said that these things would begin to happen as signs. Watch this now, that God is walking among the earth, and he is going to show this earth that he is in charge. Not China, not Russia, not Biden. God is in charge. And because of that, listen to me.
I think your mom is in charge, personally.
The Holy Spirit, many of the end-time eschatology teachers will tell you about the Antichrist, and they will teach about the Holy Spirit. But, the Scripture says that even the Holy Spirit is the restrainer of the very Antichrist. If the Holy Spirit can restrain that, and do you think that he cannot restrain China from attacking us and all the other things that right now that we're discussing? Of course he can, because there's something that we have to pay attention to, and it's this: the glory of God is touching this planet, and the earth is going crazy because it doesn't understand what is going on. This earth is...
I don't know what any of this means. The glory of God is touching this earth, and this earth is going crazy because it doesn't understand what's going on. What? I don't understand what the hell he's trying to communicate right now. This makes no sense at all.
Is being absolutely touched by the glory of God. You say, well, Pastor Hank, why is that so interesting? When the glory of God comes, listen, things get exposed. When the
That's what she said.
glory of God comes, there's great change, the Mount of Transfiguration. When the glory of God comes, there's turmoil, even among the nations. You saw that with Israel, and you saw the pursuit of an attempted war of Egypt and Pharaoh against the nation. But what did God do? The glory was the restraining force, as the Lord sent a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. And I'm here to tell you, God was not lying when he put a slogan on the mouth of Donald Trump and his whole campaign, and he prophesied it way before they...
I guess it's "Make America Great Again" is the slogan to which he's referring. Is that right, or...
even said the slogan. Here's what it is before we go to the break. God said, I will make America great again. He has not changed his mind. That is where we're heading. And you watch the
Dude, this is sad. Come on, man. And people believe this garbage.
restraining force of the Holy Spirit, who is still in this earth, is going to deal with every one of our enemies, including those who stole our election. Let's not forget about what they did in 2020.
God, this guy can't give it up, can he? The 2020 election was not stolen, okay? The 2022 election was not stolen. This is completely fabricated out of nothing because this guy can't handle the fact that he prophesied that Donald Trump is going to win the election, and then it failed. Instead of just admitting that he lied, claimed that there was, claimed that God was going to install Trump as a dictator or some other shit. Instead of admitting that he lied, he absolutely insists on convincing everybody around him that he was telling the truth all along. Honestly sad.
We wouldn't have a balloon floating, and we wouldn't have to make
Sorry, let me step back a little bit.
enemies, including those who stole our election. Let's not forget about what they did in 2020. We wouldn't have a balloon floating, and we wouldn't have to make balloon payments because we shot it down. I trust in God, and I'm telling you, we are going to continue to see the intervention of Almighty God. I promise you that.
Come on.
Great. Okay, let's see it. Anytime, right? Let's have it.
Preach a little bit, Pastor. All right, before we go to the break.
That's not preaching. That's getting into politics. See, this is a good example of them doing everything they can to blur the line between church and state. Blend the two together. Seriously, it's disgusting.
Break. I'm going to ask Pastor Lance if he would because I think you hit on something very, very good there, Pastor Hank, about fear, and we don't want to give fear any place. So before we go to break, Lance, please pray for the people.
Okay, so Lance Wallnau is a total Christian nationalist nutcase, if you don't know who this is.
Well, and by the way, China is not going to do anything to attack the United States. Sometimes a little bit of truth dispels the fear.
That's true. China is not going to attack the U.S. No chance of that. Not mainland anyways. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes to the point where it's like an adversarial situation and we get into like a bunch of little proxy wars all over the place and fight with each other constantly. A new Cold War type of thing, right? If China invaded Taiwan, which they've expressed an interest in doing, the U.S. said that they would step in with boots on the ground. They'd have boots on the ground in Taiwan. That's a type of situation where there could be full-blown war between China and the U.S. That's concerning. I don't think anybody wants that. Now, Taiwan deserves to be its own sovereign country. So I think I can agree with fighting for Taiwan, but it would be an ugly battle, deeply ugly.
We are the driving force behind their economy. The only reason they're prospering is because of the United States.
Not entirely. They are the world's factory, effectively. So not really exactly. China is very powerful in its own right. They are a factory or a production-based economy, and the United States is a service-based economy largely. So we have things like customer service, fast food, programming, and things like that. And China is more manual labor, factories and production lines and things like that. That in large part, that's how it works. And the reason that China operates that way is because slave labor is still kind of a thing there, or child labor is still kind of a thing. And, you know, that's bad. That's bad for the people, terrible for the people, but fantastic for the Chinese government. Makes them powerful to have all this business coming in. And it's not just the United States that does this either. It's a lot of countries. It's the whole Western world that uses China and their slave labor, and their child labor, and their child slave labor as, you know, to kind of bolster their own economies. You know, the Nikes you're wearing right now, the iPhone that you're using right now were produced, at least parts of them were produced with child labor, slave labor. And I don't like that. It's unfortunate and ugly and disgusting and evil that that's the situation we find ourselves in. We need to find a way to move the factories out of China and into somewhere that's more humane. The prices are going to go up astronomically for everything, but we have to do it. We must cut slavery out of the production line. We must. Anyway, that's just a little tangent. Sorry.
They don't want to take out the person paying their bills. So they just want to be able to tell the world that they are more powerful than us and we're the declining power. So let's pray Psalm 35, like David prayed. It's not about China. It's about those spiritual forces that are taking over the high places of the United States. Lord, contend with those who contend with us. Fight against those who fight against us. Rise up for our help. Draw also out your spear and your battle axe to meet those that are pursuing us. And let them be ashamed and dishonored who seek our life. Lord, we pray in the name of Jesus for the mighty shakings of God to shake America awake, to awaken it to who it is, and to cause your enemies to step back and stumble. Let there be one more great move of God that comes forth from the shores of this country, bringing liberty to every nation of the earth. One great sweeping global revival. Let America have its moment again in Jesus' name.
Okay, God, that prayer was like disturbing for a number of reasons, but I guess it could be worse. I've definitely heard worse from this guy.
Amen, amen. Now, if you need somebody to join with you in prayer, there's a prayer line right there.
We've called the prayer line before. There's an episode where I called the prayer line. It was actually pretty entertaining, if I do say so myself.
77281-6297. Licensed prayer ministers are there ready to pray with you.
I discovered that they're not really licensed prayer ministers. I don't know what a license would even look like for something like that. Like, how do you get a license to be a prayer minister, first of all? Who's the licensing board that does that shit? But aside from that, they're really just there to get you to sign up for their newsletter. They're there to take your email address so that they can send you their stupid BS constantly. I should have signed up for it, but I wasn't ready to, I didn't have an email, a backup email to send it to. I didn't want to publicize that. So anyway, yeah, they're just terrible in every way. These people are.
I need to know, Tony, are you in agreement with this or not? You're sitting there. I just need to know, make sure you're on board, brother.
Brother, I'm just behaving tonight.
Brother, can you say brother a couple more times, brother?
Because I feel like running the aisles in the house tonight.
All right, good. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the unholy performance at the Grammys. It's unbelievable. Don't go away.
Dude, they've got to have some kind of a weird political opinion on everything, don't they? Can't they just leave people alone and let them live their fucking lives? These people are nuts, dude. I don't know. This is so entertaining to me. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Brother, let me know what you think about it in the comments, brother.